Hi everybody, I'm Jim Kramer, Senior Vice President and Driver for Bigfoot 4x4. Welcome to the first edition of Bigfoot Racing Team Video Magazine. In this premiere edition, we'll see what's been going on with Bigfoot in the past several months. Plus, we'll take a look at the highlights from the very first all-Bigfoot motorsports show and explore what makes these vehicles more durable and competitive. But first, let's take a glance at the evolution of Bigfoot.
Design, test, improve, then test and improve again. These are the basic steps in the evolution of any concept. You start with a blue sky idea, take it to a working prototype, then learn through hands-on experience, always adapting, adding new technology, finding new ways to build a better machine. The evolution of Bigfoot began in 1974. From the family Ford pickup truck to the most popular and successful monster trucks of all time.
Bigfoot started out as a family pickup. It wasn't Bigfoot at the time. It was a 1974 Ford. We opened a four-wheel drive shop, and then we used the truck as promotion for the shop. You know, we put bigger tires and wheels on it, put a bigger engine in it, put all our accessories on it. And it sold product. It was our demonstration of the products we sold. As years progressed, the truck got bigger and we did more things with it. We started doing exhibitions. Later on, what happened with Bigfoot is they started doing racing.
As more and more trucks began to enter the circuit, the very nature of monster truck events began to change as well. From friendly demonstrations to all-out competition, Bigfoot led the revolution.
We made a lot of changes on 4. Later on, we built Bigfoot 6 and 7, and each time we improved the trucks with things that would help us racing. Bigger engines, a little bit more suspension, a little stouter here, something a little different on it. We took it as far as we could because what they started doing now the races were getting faster. And we started considering, well, we're probably doing something wrong here. We're putting weight and mass into this, and now we need to go lighter. Lighter will make the trucks faster. So that's when we went into designing a new truck.
In order to maintain a clear performance lead, Bob Chandler began investigating new construction materials and design concepts. Inevitably, he was drawn to CAD. Through this revolutionary computer-aided design system, Bob Chandler was able to speed up the evolutionary process and solve a multitude of performance-limiting problems that had plagued Bigfoot and all monster trucks from the very beginning.
Before I designed a new truck, which was Bigfoot 8, was our first computer design, first suspension monster truck of mine. We did a lot of research. I looked into off-road racing, I looked at drag racing, I looked at all types of motorsport. We knew we had to go to a lighter chassis, which we decided on a tubular chassis. We knew we had to go to a better shock, something with more travel, more that would handle the masses that we're running. We started in the computer, in the CAD program, designed the whole thing in the computer, from the frame to the axles to the suspension to the cantilever means to the position of mounting the engine and transmission, the drive shaft lengths, the track bar lengths, everything is done in the computer. We built the truck in less than 3 months because we had everything there. When somebody had a question, we'd go out and look in the computer and we could measure things out in the computer. It told us exactly what length things were. This also cut down on our costs quite a bit because all the work was on the one man in a computer rather than several people putting a truck together, testing it, going out, coming back, taking it back apart. It was all done prior to building the truck. So the majority of the testing was done prior to using it, before the truck was being built. The major problem with monster trucks is the ratio between the sprung and the unsprung. And all other motorsports is opposite of what we are. Our unsprung weight, the axles, the tires, and wheels are heavier than our sprung weight, which is the body. And to counter that, we had to do a lot of research and I think I came up with an answer, which is why I have the shocks at a different angle than most vehicles. And it seems to correct our problem. With this new design, using a cantilever mechanism, I'm able to get a lot more suspension travel. We use about a 19-inch gas shock, and right now we're getting 24 inches of suspension travel. We're working on a new truck that'll probably run 30 inches. We had problems with the old C-channel frames on the older trucks. They were very heavy, and they're designed for one purpose. With this new application, with the truck that we wanted to put a lot of suspension on, it was hard to get the strength you needed in specific places. When you use a tubular chassis, you can make it lighter than the C-channel heavy frame, and yet have more strength where you need it. All these changes to computer-aided design, the suspension, we're even cutting our tires to make them lighter and making them get better bite. I think we have better drivers now, have given us a lot of better competitive edge. And monster truck racing is getting very competitive nowadays, and it's making a competitive sport, and I think we have a good chance of winning the series.
And as much as things change and advance, some things will always remain the same.
We use all Ford components in all the Bigfoot trucks. There's 12 right now, working on number 13. They all run Ford engines, Ford transmissions. The newer trucks now have fiberglass Ford bodies. They're just fiberglass, so they're lighter. We couldn't have gone this far without Ford support.
The evolution continues. New ideas, new materials, new manufacturing techniques, new technology. And you can rest assured that if it can be done faster, safer, or better, Bigfoot will be leading the way, the most innovative and successful monster truck of all time.
Last summer in Nashville, Tennessee was the first ever Bigfoot Bash. This was an event in which Bigfoot vehicles competed against each other in car crushing, drag racing, and obstacle course racing. Let's go to the competition. heard about Bigfoot's latest rival, snakebite, and its driver, Colt Cobra from Cobra Creek, Colorado. Now that's a mouthful, but let's watch this masked driver and snake-eyed monster truck in action. You want to be sure and see the second edition of Bigfoot Racing Team Video Magazine, where we'll talk to Colt Cobra and find out what's behind his mask. Because of sponsors like Ford, Bigfoot is able to remain a leader in monster truck technology. BASF is another company that keeps Bigfoot looking good all the time.
The old saying, what goes up must come down, is certainly true of the monster truck sport. And a big part of the sport's excitement comes from the fact that when these giant trucks do go up, you never know how they might come down. The fans, of course, love this, but it can represent a major aggravation for the guys whose job it is to put the monster trucks back together. We talked with Bob Chandler, owner of Bigfoot, and watched his team to find out how they handle things when Bigfoot stubs its big toe.
Hi, I'm Bob Chandler. Monster trucks are very destructive, not only to the cars they crush, but to themselves. Nowadays, we're racing other monster trucks at speeds up to 60 miles an hour. And we break a lot of parts, mechanical parts and also body parts. We have a truck here with 3 upside-down stickers on it. This is our way of indicating that the truck has been rolled 3 times and required a full body repair each time. This is a scenario that we hate to see when a truck returns from a race.
In the past, this took up to a month to get this truck back on the road. But now, with fiberglass bodies and newer developments in paintwork, this truck can be turned around in about a week's time. Fiberglass bodies inherently are very easy to repair and sand and prep for paint. And with RM Diamond paint, this truck can be prepped and painted in about 8 hours. Doesn't sound possible? It is, and the results are fantastic. Let's take a look. When a panel comes in to be painted, cleaning it is the first step. After the cleaning, the panel is sanded, and any minor body work needed is done. After the body work is finished, high build primer is applied. This high build covers the scratches, pinholes, and any other minor imperfections that might be in the panel. After the high build primer is dry, the panel is sanded and prepared for the final prime. The final coat of primer is then applied, and after it is dry, it's sanded with 400 grit paper. Before the panel is ready for its final paint, it must be cleaned once again and wiped down with a tack cloth. The panel is now ready to spray. The first step is applying a coat of tinted sealer to hide any of the sanded through areas that might be on the panel. This sealer also helps the paint to cover more quickly. After the sealer flash dries in about 20 minutes, 2 coats of base color are applied. After about another 20 minutes, the striping is taped off. And once the stripes are done, the panel is ready for the clear coat. Applying about 3 coats of clear coat really makes the paint come alive. The new body panels are done and are ready to be put back on the truck the very next day.
This beautiful paint reminds me of an old cliche, beauty is only skin deep. In the case of Monster Truck, that's really about as far as it goes. Anyway, Bigfoot 9 here will be ready to go out and thrill the crowds in about a week, hopefully this time by not rolling over.
In our next segment, we'll review some of the accomplishments of the Bigfoot racing team, specifically some past achievements of Bigfoot 4, Bigfoot 8, and Bigfoot 9. One of the Bigfoot racing team's most recent improvements is the use of ZF axles. Let's take an in-depth look at how Bigfoot and ZF make a winning combination.
The Bigfoot race team continually strives to find new components and new ways to get a competitive edge on its competition. Bigfoot has found that new edge with ZF axles. ZF axles improves the safety and performance of Bigfoot in a number of ways. First, ZF shaves 200 to 300 pounds of weight off of the current axles used. Plus, hours of labor is saved in fabrication time. ZF axles only require mounting brackets to be installed, as opposed to the current axle used, which has to be fabricated out of two separate axles, sometimes requiring up to 80 man-hours of labor, which doesn't include the axle housing and axle heat treatment. Increased safety is also achieved because of the wheel end brakes. Wet disc brakes wear longer and also will not fade as fast. Most axles used have the disc brakes mounted on the pinion shaft, therefore creating the possibility of losing braking power to that axle if a pinion would break. The wet disc brakes also increases Bigfoot's stopping ability. This is crucial, especially in turning courses, where a lot of braking is done. Brake fade is reduced and the brakes will also wear longer. The limited slip option also makes sharp turns possible and also helps Bigfoot get around those turns faster with very limited tire scuff. Plus, with ZF, there are 3 axle ratios to choose from. This gives Bigfoot the option to tailor the axle to any application for optimum performance. ZF axles, giving Bigfoot added performance to stay out in front of the competition. ZF and Bigfoot, a winning combination.
Well, that about wraps it up for this edition of the Bigfoot Racing Team Video Magazine. Be sure to look for the next edition featuring more of the latest Bigfoot action. I'm Jim Kramer, and on behalf of everyone here at Bigfoot, we hope to see you the next time Bigfoot comes to your area.